Hey, Tim, how are we going? It is Kaz from In the Trenches with Kaz, Spectacles of Wisdom. And here we are today about to have a conversation about a fairly delicate subject. Delicate because it affects some people emotionally. It may be about the truth. It might be potentially feel like it's cutting away someone's future dreams. Okay, to serve it, and, or artillery or armored corps. But we're here to speak the truth because the one thing you won't hear from the chain of command quite often is the truth. You'll hear about army needs or army, what would you say, DEI, but you won't actually hear, the truth more often than not. Courage is always there flowing downwards, but very rarely is it moving upwards. And I can tell you that after a 24-year career in infantry. So what we're going to do today is we're going to extrapolate a little bit of this. We're going to talk to you guys and let you know that I believe that females should not be in combat corps. They shouldn't be. When you put them up against any other sport against gentlemen, men, they lose. So why would you pitch them against men in battle? My exception for this is Air Force and Navy, because that is not my lane. So I won't be talking about whether they can be pilots, whether they can be captains of ship. We've already seen females have done more damage to the New Zealand fleet than war has in the last 50 years. But that's, again, out of my lane. So tonight we're going to be concentrating on conventional warfare fighting. I've made a video for you that we can watch in a moment. G'day, Simon Powell. How you going? Dave D there. Good to see the boss in the house. We've got Brady Carr's half a haircut. That's right. This is the lesbian style, even though Ellen DeGeneres has fled the country in the USA, probably gone to a Diddy party. Who knows? It's amazing how many of the celebrities that left the country were all at Diddy parties. How's Beyonce getting paid $10 million for 3 minutes work and didn't sing? And she's only famous for singing. She got 100 years' wages of a New York police officer for 3 minutes work. Work? Huh. Yeah, let's see what happens there. Anyway, Mr. Buckaroonie is known as the servant of the empire. We're going to call on him after for his expert opinion because he's been military, he's been police, he's been prison guard, he's been everywhere, man. We've got Wingnut, the oldest applicant from our channel. G'day all, Kaz, good to see you again. Feeling better? I am feeling pretty peachy actually at the moment, mate. Peter Mayfield, Pacadurries, hi Kaz, hi team. And Jelena, how you going? You're from Western Australia, aren't you, Jelena? Brady Cars, hey Dave, Ozoff, good to have you here, mate. Mind Erosion. Worked with Pussers at, which is Navy, guys, at Cerberus. I think can captain a ship. He boarded, be boarding parties, etc. Okay. What we'll do is quickly, just as an appetizer, when we look at what happens when our female applicants apply for competitions against male applicants, this is what it can look like. This is from Chile. This is a SWAT competition. 5
teams involved in the UE SWAT Challenge this year. Belarus, Thailand, Chile. 2 teams from the Emirates.
Almost there.
Oh! The first one to get wet in the ice bath today.
So that translates as mission complete failure because this is meant to simulate something real. So that means they wouldn't have actually made it to the bad guys. It also means someone has probably died falling from this piece of equipment, apparatus. Let's continue.
And, well, they are stuck in the middle of that zip line. Remember, if you fall in the ice bath, you have to go back to the beginning of the zip line and do it again. And currently, Chile have 3 team members stranded in the middle of that ice bath. Thankfully, the water will be a little bit warmer than it was earlier on this morning.
There's an early retirement.
Vamos, vamos!
That means hurry up in Spanish. Black is not always thinning,
team. Just goes
team.
to show you how important momentum is.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, 3 team members in the drink.
Oh, equipment lost.
Oh, it's all going horribly wrong. And, well, forget about getting wet.
She can tell the future. So can everyone else around
the
her.
violations, the major safety violations for dropping weapons in the water are...
Okay, so just imagine if they were coming to save you from a critical situation with bad guys involved. Yep.
Operational effectiveness.
Wait. We'll get to that in a moment. So, guys, let's have a quick look here. We've got Milkmaid, we've got Brady Cars, and the rest have been picked off just hanging around. Yep. Adam. So keen for this subject. I'm all for it. Okay, guys and gals, for those that are out there, if this is the first time you're here, I am a military veteran, 24 years. I'm not speaking outside my lane. This is something I've been in operations with females at least 4 times for the Australian Army. Earned my Skippy badge, been instructor for females, co-ed courses, etc. For that entire time. This is not said as disrespect. This is said because it won't be said, and it's not being enforced. And what is happening is we're seeing fantastic young women who are having sometimes their very first career that are built like a pear, no shoulders, all hips, that are then getting told by DEI hire that infantry is an okay corps for them. But they're not going to pick up the bits. They're going to say to them, you've got free medical. Oh, sorry, it didn't work out for you. Your brain might be a little bit crushed as well, because now you think they said I could do it. I turned up there. Evidently I couldn't. Who's going to take the repercussions for selective criteria that said to me that I could? What happens when a boss, I won't get too far into the video. We'll cut that one there. We'll get into you guys for a second. Hey, Kaz, what's your opinion on the response on the Royal Commission outcome? I haven't looked much into it, mate. I haven't looked much into it to tell you the truth. The reason is I don't think it's a subject that there is an answer or a solution to, and it's definitely not one that I can necessarily add to. And when I've made videos in the past about military mental health, whatever, it seems like off, not interested. So anyway, where are we? What are we getting at here? Okay, here's the question, team. Bam, let's whack it down there, because some of you might have a good idea. Let's see. Just keep the emotion out of it. And if you're a lady and you're watching, okay, this is not meant to hurt you. We need to put the alpha team into play at all times when they're playing for their life. And the video in a moment, which I put a lot of work into today, will outline that for you, because I think it is important you don't come in here just swinging for the swinging for the fences and not come prepared. We all know there's no such thing as one army anymore. The standards have dropped horribly low, and they're not being met. There's even preparation courses to prepare people to go for the lowest standard that there's ever been at Kapuka. So, yep. It's not the fault of the person who turns up. Might stop turning up if they don't think that the team they're going to be working with is legit. Aussie, there are currently 3 women in Gallipoli platoon at School of Infantry. All 3 have put in core transfers, and I feel sorry for those ladies. Tip of the hat, to them, as they didn't think infantry is for them. There are 2 women in session, and I believe one of them just marched out. Yep. Always cook books, but isn't it? Hey, Kaz, hey, team. Foxy, nope, if you don't do the mile stand, your body won't last. And even if you do, there's going to be a price to pay, just like there is for every single soldier. What we don't ever mention is how horrible infantry corps can be for a man. A young adult, not yet a man, that turns up that think through their bluster that they're ready when they're not. It can be absolutely crushing, demoralizing for them. And we don't hold back on men. They get the truth from the start. Believe me. Michael Ledger. G'day, mate. How you going? Thinking you just said the answer preparation is key. Understood what you're in for. I turned up so scared that I would not be able to meet the requirements that I turned up. They're not over-prepared, but I excelled once I got there. It helped that I was 58 kilos too. But when someone hands you the Mag 58, and 23 kilograms of rounds to carry, a hard thing. When you've got no body fat, believe me, it will be a very tiring situation for you at the School of Infantry, where every single week has gates where you can be back squatted. Not to mention that mates on mates peer evaluation in the barracks environment where no one hears you scream. If they do, they don't care. Then be ready for that too. Man from down under, hopefully things change and ended soon, Adam. They're not going back up. Abbo has done a number on this country. Absolutely. Buys a house on the water, nearly $5 million, and then still cries climate change, seas are rising. Bullshit. G'day, Carl P. How you going, mate? Killer Carl. Pretty sure Albo is a Bolshevik. Yep. Do they even teach that at school anymore? Here's our question. Should female soldiers be allowed to serve in combat corps? Or should we save the taxpayer some money from the start and just say, absolutely not? Absolutely not. Platoon commanders, think of them as like the tradesmen. They're a tradie. They can only do so much with the tools they have, and the tools they have are humans, human resources in infantry. Same as artillery, same as in armored corps. You have to be able to do every single job. You have to be competitive, highly competitive. The slowest male, which standard is well above the female standard for existence within the Australian Army, he will be absolutely relentlessly beasted for being the lowest in the pack. So do not be in that bottom third, men and girls. So let's get on with the video that I prepared for today. This goes for about 12 minutes. I'll stop it every now and then, but it's just me still talking and stuff with some entertainment thrown in there. And you'll even have the option potentially within another 20 minutes to call on the servant of the empire, Buckaroo, to share with me, and also I can switch from the video narrator speaking to myself actually speaking from my own script that I prepared today. But we'll get to that. Tropic Salt, how you going, mate? Yep, with closer standards. Some goes for age of male. Okay, another one which you may not understand is I believe there is opportunity where women could work in special forces, except they're not allowed to by law, because you're not allowed to use disguises in a first world country. You're not allowed to wear disguises on operations. You're not allowed to wear cloaks over your uniform and then become like a Assassin's Creed, etc. So get women to join as honey pots, so to speak, use their sexuality to take out people to gain information, all that sort of shit. And they were up and they were willing to do that. And that was a special branch of special forces. I'm all for that. But the physicality, they're never going to make it. They're never going to meet men. They're not going to. It's why in the Olympics, everything is split, everything. There's 1,000 videos on YouTube as to why. Okay, but here we go. Let's get ready for this video. Great, Dwayne. I hope you're feeling better, mate. Let's have a look at this and let us know. So has anyone said, okay, yes, with closer standards, some same goes for, I don't know, Tropical Salt.
Ram between you, ram between.
Let's go, Ramsey! Oh, we gotta go, Ramsey, go on it. Let's go, Ramsey, go on it. Go! Get up there and jump. Come on, Ramsey, swing. Give him a good one. Good swing, come on. Ramsey, go!
Over 50% of the women that was enlisted in the Army failed the fitness test. So guess what they did? They just lowered the standards of the test.
Shape up or ship out, taking on new meaning for Army personnel who will now get a break as far as fitness is concerned. The Army now lowering the physical fitness standard for women and older troops who struggle to pass the yearly test.
It says here, more than 7 months after the official launch of the Army Combat Fitness Test, or ACFT, nearly half of female soldiers are still falling short, with enlisted women struggling the most, military.com has learned. The new data again raises questions about whether the Army's attempt to create a fitter force is creating more barriers to success for women. So So if a man doesn't meet the standard, he's not fit to be a soldier, but if a woman doesn't meet the standard, you just lower the standard. And if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, how is that equality? Shut up, bigot.
I am out here for you. You don't know what it's like to be me out here for you.
We choose truth over facts.
Never go for retard. Come on, man.
Hey team, it is Kaz from In the Trenches with Kaz. If this is your first time here, I am your resident infantry veteran from Australia, representing, I believe, soldiers in arms across the globe. Please put in comments who you are, who you served with proudly, and a little bit of advice in comments for those that are watching. Today's video is about females in infantry, combat corps, armoured corps artillery, and I believe, and I've got the stones to say, that they need to be told no. Take them out.
Our rationale skills and our logical thinking is not conducive to be able to be on the front grounds, to be able to make, oh my gosh, if I step here, this is going to blow up. Can I, like, we just think too emotionally. And that's why when we talked about leadership, it's the same thing. Being in those positions where like split second decision could make or break, I don't think women have it in them to do that. And I don't think it's fair to men. To be, I wouldn't, if I was a man, I wouldn't want to be next to a woman and want to be carried out if I needed to be, if my life was depending on it.
Yeah. Don't send on a B team, send the A team onto the pitch. We've got trouble coming our way and we don't know what it's going to look like. But our leadership does not have the moral courage to say no. They've cooked the books. It is time for them to stand up. If they don't have moral courage from political pressure coming from the top, then how are they ever going to have physical courage to lead us into and back out of hell?
As a Marine Corps veteran, I could tell you with 100% certainty this is exactly how all of our minds work. Was this some sort of ceremony?
Up at their tiny post, Ryan and his team were being pounded. Almost instantly, every one of them was wounded.
Bro can't even get a medal from the president and keep his face straight.
So guys and gals, stay with me for the narration of this video through an online narrator. You know, I could have done it myself, but I didn't want the reading to be broken up. So I'll respond in a second video to your comments below. Peace be with you. And let's protect our girls who are volunteers, but sometimes are being misled with a false image to meet a political requirement. That's Kaz from the Trenches, out to you. Okay, team. So what we're about to watch now is about to go into like an 8-minute spin on a script that I wrote today so that it all came out succinctly, so it doesn't go longer than it needs to. And if you cannot stay for all of tonight's stream, I understand you have family needs on a Monday night. Actually, no, you don't. Nothing happens on Monday night. It's a blitz. But I'll put this video as a standalone 9-minute video and see if it doesn't get copyrighted, because I do have some visuals that are happening in the background. And understand one thing, something about the US or the USMC, the Marine Corps, who are going to be working out of our north as a force of up to 16,000, which is bigger than our Royal Australian Regiment. Understand that the same across all coalition forces, across AUKUS. You know, it should be a standard that is universal so that we can all work inoperably with each other and be able to get the good, so to speak. So if we have cooked the books and we lower ourselves too far, we can also be an international fucking embarrassment. You don't want that. Blake Smith, I came about 2 weeks ago. What's it? So a disagreement will affect future. Hey, Kaz, we had a good chat about 2 weeks ago. So our disagreement will affect future conversations. No, not at all. No, mate, absolutely not. Monday nights are standard, going bang, don't know. Okay, here we go. Hey, Kaz, off to the battalion in a week, and curious what a day to looks like in Townsville. Well, we'll talk about that soon, mate. Bam, skip. Let's go. Subscribe.
Why women should be exempt from conventional Army combat roles. Introduction.
Cavalry boys here.
We travel at the speed of the slowest and weakest man. Thank you for being here today. The topic I want to discuss is whether women should be exempt from conventional Army combat positions. My position is based on understanding the unique demands of combat roles and the potential implications of including women in these positions, and understand I truly believe this is a leadership or lack of leadership dilemma rather than a male versus female capability debate. Let us start with the role of the infantry that every recipient of the CORPs swears and lives by. The role of the infantry: to seek out and close with the enemy, to kill or capture him, to seize and hold ground, to repel attack by day or by night. Regardless of season, weather, or terrain, we will explore physical capabilities, the need for rigorous training standards, the importance of meritocracy, and the financial and mental costs associated with implementing diversity initiatives within the military. Main body: 1. Physical demands of combat roles, rigors of infantry, artillery, and armored corps. The physical demands of these roles cannot be quantified by a simple fitness test. Combat requires endurance.
Just so you're aware, team, I've written all this out. I've just got a narrator to do this so it doesn't come out and become a distraction. So this is my actual words I've written. So if I've said something that's offensive in here, it's from me. Okay.
Strength and resilience under conditions that cannot be fully replicated in controlled environments. Incomplete metrics. Fitness tests serve as a litmus test for current physical output, but do not reflect the multifaceted challenges faced in the field. Second, standardization of requirements. Same standards for all. Female candidates should be required to sign on for the same periods as male soldiers and meet identical standards across all metrics in field environments. This includes enduring the same conditions, regardless of gender. Pre-enlistment and basic fitness assessments. Female applicants must meet male standards for pre-enlistment fitness tests and basic fitness assessments designed for their age bracket. This ensures
Okay, sorry. So, Blakey, what I was going to say is I completely disagree with your position, and it's not about your opinion, my opinion. You are just wrong. Okay, you want to spend billions of dollars on a social experiment, which I cannot understand at all where you're coming from. There's something psychological wrong there, dude. Forbidding them, the taxpayer is paying for us. We're preparing to go and fight some the most vicious people on earth that'll have it for you, and we're seeing that with the Ukraine. We can't stuff around social experiments and send people there and pay for things like it's a second NDIS program. Yeah. Anyway, sorry about that, team.
Consistency in capability expectations. Hygiene practices. If conditions in certain scenarios mean limited hygiene, e.g., no showers for a month, then all soldiers, regardless of sex, must comply. This fosters equality in the demanding realities of combat. 3. Meritocracy over representation. Promotion criteria. Promotions should be strictly based on meritocracy, not representation. The military must prioritize capability, readiness, and overall performance over agendas focused on diversity or inclusion. Performing as soldiers. It's essential to recognize the role of soldiers. If female soldiers do not meet established standards, they should be treated like any other soldier who fails to meet expectations and be released if deemed a liability. Respect for volunteer soldiers. Female soldiers are volunteers and should be treated with the respect that reflects this truth. Meeting the military's diversity goals should not come at the expense of operational effectiveness. 4.
Okay, there we go. So everything we do has a financial cost. There is only a certain amount of position numbers that we have in the Australian Army. Certain amount of combat, certain amount of support. You cannot be filling positions with people that are going to have a reduced service period or open them up to meet someone's feelings or left-leaning agenda. It doesn't work that way. We play for keeps and we play to kill. We play the real game or we die. We are only as good as our fattest and weakest person in our team. And that is a fact. Now, an officer that has one person that is too slow, too fat, too weak, or goes down because they can't take the rigors of the pace that is required in planning to get from point A to point B to conduct mission success, potentially losing members, we can't afford to have people that can't carry the gun, that can't carry a mate out of harm's way. We just saw with the big fella there, 108 kilos. Don't get me wrong. Maybe there should be a limitation on the weight of a soldier as well, that over 95 kilos you can't serve in infantry because then you can't be carried out. This is not just about females. This is about the winning team on the ground and success, because if you get it wrong, the price is forever. It is. And if you were to talk to the parent of a soldier and say, do you want politicians and leadership playing social experiments with the life of your young man? Good luck. Stand in front of that lady. Foxy says, I'm getting attached to Armoured Corps. Next posting as a truckie in 2026 and 2025. Next year? Next posting. And it's going to be a test for sure. I'm going to keep up at the end of the day. It's not just not meant for girls. Fantastic, mate. That legend, and we'll be there to help you. Yeah. I respect your opinion, says Blakey, and respectfully disagree. But what are you basing your disagreement on? Something's going to cost billions of dollars to taxpayers or get people killed. I believe it's a man's job, but I don't think I have a right to tell someone not to risk your life. Absolutely you do, because you're going to get other people killed as a result. There's flow-on effects, real flow-on effects. They should meet the exact standard as men at a minimum. You're thinking about a fitness test, a standalone fitness test. The test of a soldier that they're successful isn't when they complete the School of Infantry. It's when they've been in the battalion at least a year, don't need supervision, can operate individually, carry every single weapon, are above, far outweighing the standard required to survive in the field for extended periods of time under extreme duress, including their life in danger, and not running from combat. We can't afford to play games. Hey, Kaz, my application process slowed up. I got my email around 5 weeks ago saying that I'm in the assessment ready queue, and I haven't heard much since then. Is this normal? Give me a call tomorrow, Jared. Mr. McLaney, just DFR for you. Wingnut McLaney is good up in Townsville. There we go. Here we go. We're trying to keep on the topic here. The thing is, the exact standard. I've been outfield with women and they can't operate the same way as men. At the end of the day, Blake, if you can't listen to an absolute expert on this subject who's here to clarify and illuminate points for you, and hopefully if there's any young ladies watching, that is enough to make them say, hey, look, maybe I don't go to infantry, which is what the Army needs is for diversity hire. Instead, let me go to the corps that I wanted to go to, which might be dental assistant, it might be engineers, might be transport corps, might be signals MPs. But don't shoehorn someone into something that's going to have a catastrophic event where you won't take any accountability for what you've done to that young woman through recruiting, where she was in the most vulnerable under a position of power where she wanted a job. The comment before, Brady, comment before about the girls at Singer wanting course transfer as proof. 3 able men were turned away for them and they squandered their chances. Not on standards, many and most women wouldn't achieve. After 12 months of battalion, none will. That's what I'm telling you, mate. I've been on operations 4 times with female soldiers. They were fantastic, but they weren't in combat corps, and I wouldn't have wanted them beside me. If I'm the one that does the fighting and I'm the one that is there to do the dying, I deserve to say who stands beside me, and it won't be females and it won't be transgender or any DEI hire. I applaud female who are prepared to risk their lives, but appreciate that this may ultimately impact the safety of others. Yep. Absolutely. Well done, Cassie. I agree with that. We're not set in stone yet, mate. Got a time to change my mind. Get to Townsville. Anthony. Hey, Kaz, completely agree with you. Don't want my future daughters to be on the front line. Neither does Midnight Oil. But I would be fine with them joining non-combat roles. Me too. My papa, who was in the Army for 22 years, didn't let my mum join. If you hold someone back, then contempt occurs. When a expert speaks, you damn well better listen, because if you don't, you're going to pay the price twice. Like I said, you're not there to fail. No. Mate, I'm no wokey. They should meet every standard man should meet throughout, but that's not what's happening. Sorry. We've got future tour. Better to offend someone than to put them in others in unnecessary danger. Absolutely. Okay, it's not all just to tick boxes for the woke and HR. Absolutely not. And almost every business, that leans left or is woke goes broke. Did you train any females at the School of Infantry? I was there while females were there. I watched females actually going through their training, and I saw instructors go and look the other way as they were failing and still got their Skippy badge. Yep. So I physically saw that happening. And the reports I get back weekly, I'm not going to go into it. We had one chick here, Kaz, who wanted to go infantry corps after graduation. We did our baby field 5 days, and she went, nah, I can't do it. Okay, that's better than her making a lifelong mistake, yeah?
Financial costs of diversity initiatives, taxpayer impact. Implementing diversity and inclusion initiatives can be viewed as a social experiment. The resources devoted to training, adjusting standards, and creating inclusive environments can be significant. Taxpayers bear these costs, which could otherwise be allocated directly to enhancing military readiness and capabilities. Budget allocation. Funds used for diversity initiatives could instead enhance training facilities, equipment, and other critical areas that directly contribute to national security. This raises the question, are we willing to invest in a social agenda at the potential expense of military efficiency? Fifth, mental costs on female candidates. Psychological impact. The rigorous demands of military training can take a mental toll on any soldier, but female candidates may face unique pressures upon immersion into this intensive training environment. Confronting realities. The reality of failure, injuries, and the psychological stress of combat training can lead to significant mental health challenges.
You may have to fight an elephant.
Soldiers, especially those who may have entered under the premise of inclusion rather than capability, may struggle to reconcile their performance with expectations. Long-term consequences. The emotional and mental strain of facing setbacks in a challenge.
Okay, Singo is a completely different story. It's a very doctored approach currently, letting people through that it never used to let anyone through. That's the thing. Anyone. You had to earn that Skippy badge, that half man cry when they finished their hardcore. Now what happens is when you drop the standards for female candidates, it also means you have to drop the standards for male candidates, which means you've completely dropped the capability, and now you're forcing Kapuka is forcing their not yet ready people onto IT schools, initial employment training schools, and now they're now pushing their shortfalls onto battalions, which means when they get to the battalion. Anyway, different story. Letting people through that it shouldn't to meet any requirements. It shows in battalion when they rock up to field. Absolutely, JHC. Absolutely, I totally agree with you, man. You know, it used to be a back squad if you couldn't get across the traverse ropes. You could get back squatted if you made it all the way to hardcore and had done too much work on the stretcher, the equipment carry, you know, the section attack, you know, and then you got to the actual obstacle course. Across that, you're back squatted if you didn't come back the next day and complete it. You know, the standards used to be so high, and you knew that everyone had done that, so they were always ready when they got to the battalion. Maybe not mentally. You know, sometimes they didn't fit in well, but that was personality disorders. So to clarify my position, if not a single woman can meet the standards that men are expected of men, I think they should be heavily discouraged and no women make it. I'm fine with that. Yeah. Look, the thing is, like we said, there's a financial cost to this, and every one of those women that you're making a social experiment with is just denied a male the chance and actually go for that position. Now, there's also the side, do you want to be in a position, you know, with soldiers that have hygienic requirements where they may need to be removed from field, you know, for those hygienic and the double standards. You know, how long are they signing on for? How long are you signing on for? You know, they don't have to get their hair cut. You have to get your hair cut. There's only so far you go with the double standards actually create contempt. You know? You can't call. That was not what I was saying. I'm a big fan of the big girl. You know that. Okay, let's just complete my JOA. How long will it take me to get to Kapuka as someone applying for a reservist infantry soldier? No idea, mate. This is the time of the year where you're not going to get answers either. You know, it all comes to February when it kicks back off again and they start to populate the courses. When you go there, put your name down and say you need to go on a Kapuka course open to anyone as soon as possible, and that's your best chance, mate. When in doubt, jump on Patreon. See us there. We'll do one-on-one calls with you and coach you through your positions team. Did you know that when they took the elephants through the Alps with Hannibal, only one elephant actually made it? Anyone joining the Navy going to Cerberus, 20th of Jan? Tommy C, going to the Navy. I love the ocean. It's okay, Blake. It'd be boring if we didn't have differing opinions. It'd make it an echo chamber. We don't want that.
Environment and the potential stigma associated with failure could deter capable volunteers from pursuing military careers and hinder overall retention rates. 6. Implications for capability. Lack of improvement in capability. The assertion stands that there is not a single combat role wherein female soldiers inherently improve operational capability. This calls for a rigorous assessment of roles and the merit of including women in infantry, artillery, or armored corps positions. Equality in evaluation. Equal evaluations without bias must ensure that all soldiers are qualified to perform their tasks under stress and in high stakes.
Hey team, just a heads up. This almost turned me off infantry in my career. What you're about to watch on the this show here, I've never heard of it before. The King, the brutal combat that occurs in this video in the background that is just designed to take your eyes off my lesbian hairstyle. You know, this is as brutal as I've ever seen in a movie.
Situations, which is the very essence of military service. 7. Military culture and cohesion. Impact on unit cohesion. A culture that emphasizes equal standards promotes a sense of unity and respect among soldiers. Cohesion can be significantly affected when standards are perceived as being lowered for any group. Integrity of the force. Upholding a culture built on respect for merit and capability fosters trust and integrity within the ranks, which is crucial for mission success. Conclusion. In conclusion, while diversity and inclusion are vital discussions, the operational demands of conventional Army combat roles call for a stricter, more rigorous approach to standards. Ensuring female candidates meet the same standards as their male counterparts in every aspect of military service and training honors the volunteerism of all soldiers and maintains the military's operational standing. We travel at the speed of the slowest and weakest man. Questions for you or those that may want a seat at the table. 1. In a combat situation where do you believe that maintaining identical physical and performance standards for all soldiers, regardless of gender, is essential for mission success, or can we afford to have different benchmarks? Dusra, given the rigorous demands of combat roles and what is at stake for the mission result, the unit and the life of the individual, do you think it is fair to place female candidates under different standards than male candidates, or does this compromise the integrity of our military forces and allow those not in harm's way to play God with the lives of those that represent us?
How cool was that line? I felt good when I wrote that because it's exactly true. This is where those with fucking pens will keep telling those that carry swords how it works. You're not invited to the conversation if you're carrying a pen. It's only those that carry swords that get to choose their team. You know, they should be able to say absolutely not to saluting a man who's wearing a dress that's not a kilt. You know, pretend to respect something I don't respect.
3. Should women be able to continue to serve in main combat roles? If so, why? Thank you, hombres, for your time and adult critical thinking.
So team, that concludes our video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you go to comments and you actually put something in there that is relevant, whether it is a disagreement with what I've said, you know, or whether it be a fix to this solution. What do you think should happen? What did I miss out? Let me know. And thanks for your service in advance. Catch ya. Yep. Okay. So I just got a copyright hit, by the way. Right. Oops. Kaz, what are you doing there? Get off, son. Get off, mate. There we are. So what we'll quickly do is we'll put the link in here, because what we're going to invite is Mr. Buckaroony, if he's watching, to come on and have a few words. Mr. Buckaroony, if you're out there, there we go, mate. Come and join me. It's this is not meant to be a contentious topic, team. It really isn't. But it is a topic, and I'm the only YouTuber you've got that covers these kind of subjects, my man. I'm the only one. So I've got to keep being the one that lays on the sword. All I ask you to do is tick the like button, you know, either join Patreon or support the channel, become a member, help me to help others. Here we go. G'day, sir.
How are you, Kaz? G'day, everyone.
I'm good, mate.
Great evening.
What's happening, my man?
Not much, mate. Not much. It's been raining up here. I think it's been raining everywhere. But yeah, it's an interesting stream tonight, mate, with you. It's a touchy subject, mate. It's a subject that it can get people offside. But well done to you for even addressing it, because there's a lot of people out there that are not game to address this subject. And I get it that Blake was on there before saying we should have a female infantry battalion. That will never happen, mate. That will never happen. And if they ever went into combat, they get their asses kicked. Mate, I think I'm glad you invited me on, Kaz, because I've been in 3 jobs now where the male-female thing is an issue, mate. And for those people who don't know, I did 20 years in the Army, from 1982 to 2003. Then I joined the Queensland Police for 6 years, guys, and then I was a correctional officer, custodial correctional officer, not a prison guard. That is bad terminology. Correctional officer in a high-security prison in Townsville. And for 19 years as a cop and a prison screw, guys, I was confronted with some very, very, very violent situations. And I'll probably tell you a few stories there. But, yeah, and I've worked alongside females in the Army, Kaz, in the police and in corrections. And I'll tell you now, there's some fantastic females out there that bloody give 110%, mate. They really do. But everyone's got their limits, mate. I've got my limits. Everyone's got their limits. Yep. And as you said, that's why the females and males are separated in the Olympic Games, and that's why, you watch the female state of origin rugby league game, mate, you put them up against the male team, it'd be 200-0. It's just, and I said to you on the phone today, Kaz, and I want to say it now before I forget to say it, females, God put females on this earth not to do what men can do, or not to do what men can do, but to do what we can't do. And it's very true, mate. Like, they're there to complement. We work together. They're very good at some things. We're better at other things. And there's some things, and I'll tell you some examples from the police and that, where the females shit all over the males, mate. They were way better than us in certain areas. But we'll get onto that a bit later, mate.
Mate, it's what you said, I totally agree with. I know when I've had run-ins with police on the source before, when a male policeman talks to me a lot of the time, it sort of ramps you up, amps you up. But when a female comes over, it gets a little bit embarrassing when you get dressed down by a female that lets you know, mate, you've been an absolute fucking idiot at the moment. Your day is about to get a hell of a lot worse if I let the boys come in and do their job to you. So that works.
Yeah,
that stimulates me because I've been brought up as a gentleman as well. I think the thing that I'd have to say, Bucko, is we're so busy bubble wrapping females in today's society that anything you say, anything, even voting for someone who is not female or having a lawyer that is a male is now unable to do their job anymore, because to call out the opposite gender that is so protected, it's like you're trying to take a seat off them, as they're getting on the life raft of the Titanic. You'll get absolutely white-knighted. You'll get attacked. You're a misogynist. You're this and that. And you go, that's not the case at all.
No.
Absolutely not.
There was a thing there where the Queensland Police were trying to recruit 50% female. Once again, you've touched on this subject many times, mate. You get in on your merit, not on what gender you are. And that was a very, very, very dangerous thing that they were going through because, as I said, females in the police, fantastic in 95% of the things, in their paperwork, the way they talk to people on that in a lot of cases, driving vehicles, like on our driver training in the academy. I got outdriven by some of the females, mate. They can drive cars as good as the blokes, in high speed.
Until they reverse park.
Until they try and reverse park. I tell you what, they even did that well, mate. But where it comes unstuck in both police and corrections, Kaz, as I said, I was confronted with some very violent situations, mate. Some of them where I've had to pull my gun on people and wrestling people with butcher's knives and all this type of stuff, mate. And one of the worst things as a cop was going to domestic violence situations. And when you went to a domestic violence situation and you had some 6'3" bloke full of piss and drugs wanting to kill you, and then you look to your side and you go, I've got a 5'4" female with me. You just think, my God, I wish I had one of the boys with me now. And it's just the way it was. But you know what? Not once did I work with a lot of girls in the police and corrections. None of them ever took a backward step, Kaz. They were champions. They really were. Once they put the boy shirt on, mate, they really, really bloody went above and beyond. But they have their limits, mate. And their limit is...
Well, I trained a female soldier that ended up becoming a policewoman that worked with you. So, that was before we knew each other.
Mate, Ali knew you before me. I was actually Ali's field training officer, mate. And here's the quick story for you. She came out of the academy. You trained her in the army, mate. She was in the military police from memory. And you trained Ali on a sub 1 for corporal or something like that. Anyway, we got talking and found out that we both knew you and that. I said, Ali, when they said, this is your field training officer, he's going to babysit you for your first few months out of the academy and show you how to do things on the street. And I remember saying to her, we might be in a little country town in North Queensland. Don't let your guard down. Anything can happen. Well, guess what? Her second day on the road out of the academy, her second day on the road, we had our guns out on a bloke who had waving a couple of butcher's knives at us at a domestic. And his girlfriend told us later he was going to wait for you to run into the kitchen and get you from behind. And me and Ali had our guns out. Her second day out of the academy, mate. And she was fantastic. We got into a lot of wrestles and all that type of stuff. We never ever got beaten. She always went well. But you know what? Most of the girls know their limits, Kaz. And especially in the prisons, mate, when you're 50 prisoners going off and you've got to go in with the shields and that. Most of the girls knew that this is the man's job now. It's time for the men to step up. And, you know, when you got to fight violence with violence. But in saying that, the girls were always there, mate. Always there backing us up. And there's always jobs there that the girls were very good at, even in the prisons, mate. There were jobs in the prisons that the girls were way better than the men at. But when the fists were flying, that's the men's domain. And when you went to a violent situation, it was always good to have another 6-foot bloke with you than a 5'4" female. Kaz didn't pay his internet bill, everyone. He's frozen up.
Yeah, we saw them get absolutely in Rwanda. They were either legends or losers. You know, it was one of the
Kaz's
too much for most to bear, but you know, have I?
Yeah, you froze up there for a while, mate.
All right, okay.
It's that New South Wales.
How is it now?
I think it's just that you're bad.
No, mate, it's some of the things we're talking about.
Yeah, even blurry.
I think it's the subject we're talking about, mate.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Rwanda,
it seems to be the subject we're talking about.
The female doctor over there, Carol Ferguson, mate, absolute champion. Like what a great woman she was. She was the RMO, Regimental Medical Officer at the SAS Regiment. She was Major Ferguson back there. What a wonderful woman, mate. Like just apparently worked well under pressure. Mate, there's so many jobs in the army, Kaz, that are great for women. And Kaz, I wore 3 hat badges in my 20 years in the army. Can you guess what they were, mate, without trying to take over your feed? Because I've got them here and it leads me on to
Signals.
what I want to talk about. Yeah, I wore the Jimmy badge.
I knew you were in Signals.
Yeah, I wore that for 14 years. What badge did I wear after that?
Oh, shit. Did you end up with MPs?
No way. No, I was in Signals.
Although that might have been your stimulation to go cops.
Because I was colourblind, I could only go to 4 corps, catering, ordnance, SIGs, medical. They sent me to Signals Corps, so I couldn't have gone to infantry even if I wanted to. I think if I wasn't colourblind, I would have ended up in infantry because back in my day, you did not have a say in where you went. They sent you where they wanted you. So I got allocated to Signals Corps, mate. In 1997, they got rid of all the drivers, clerical staff, and QEs, your storemen, out of Signals Corps. All the drivers went into Transport Corps. All the QEs and clerks, we went to Ordnance Corps, mate. So I wore the Jimmy badge for 14 years. Then I had to wear the Ordnance badge for 6 years. No, or for a couple of years, I should say. For a couple of years, and I wore another badge for 4 years. I'll show you that in a minute. But I stayed in Signals units, mate. I was still in Signals units, but I wore an Ordnance thing because we got chucked over to Ordnance Corps, totally out of our control. I wore another badge. I was in a unit for 4 years, Kaz, and I wore their hat badge. I didn't wear their beret, but I wore their hat badge. Now that's given it away for you. Surely you know now.
Oh, SASR. I didn't know.
Yeah, I did 4 years over there from 98 to 2001, I was the SQMS of 152 Signal Squadron, which was one of the 6 squadrons of Special Air Service Regiment. I was over there in a support role. I was actually posted to SASR, and as you know, they called us chicken stranglers, that thing, but we were black hats. So if you're in the regiment and you get through the selection corps, you wear the sandy beret, mate. Like only the very best get to wear that. But if you were posted to the unit, you wore the wing dagger, mate. Even so, we wore the wing dagger on our bloody blue beret or our slouch hat. And if we went away on course, which I did, even though I was Ordnance Corps at the time, we still, if we went on course, we wore the wing dagger on our slouch hat, and we still wore the SAS flashes, mate. Even though we weren't SAS qualified, we hadn't done all the courses and that, we were still part of that unit, mate, posted to SASR. Something I'm very proud of, mate. Getting onto that, we had females in this.
And I do, as well as I do, the regiment guys, they have absolute pride for their support workers as well, especially when they step up and they can't do it without you,
Oh, mate, and they were very good, mate. The SAS boys, if you're over there and if you're hopeless, they got rid of you, mate. But if you're good at your job in a support role, it didn't matter what it was, they accepted you with open arms. They were very, very, very good. They went out and did what they needed to do. There was a lot of females at the regiment, clerical staff, QEs, drivers, medics, you know what, and IT technicians who used to look after the computer systems and that, all part of Signals Corps. Mate, the regiment boys had no problem with that because they knew that they needed their support staff so that they could go out and do what they needed to do. And it worked very, very well. But the females would never, ever be able to do what those boys did as far as the door kickers. You know what I mean?
Look, and we're already facing a dilemma across the entire Western world, not just Australia, where there is not one country in the Western world that is fulfilling its role to get people through the door with their marketing, to get people to go and join the military. Now, that means as that team gets smaller and smaller and smaller and modern warfare changes, less and less people that are of high quality join, which means the special forces suffer more than anyone because they're not going to drop their standards. So they get less and less and less to pick through. So ultimately, they become like Spartans where they're almost irreplaceable and you can't afford to lose one. So then you could end up being ultimately, risk adverse potentially, which is also not something that they do. And I can't help but think the next conflict we go to, and it's going to have to be a righteous fight to get off out of the to leave our waters these days. But I don't think we're going to get as easy as we did in Afghanistan, or as easy as we did in Iraq, or as easy even in Vietnam. When you're talking about World War I, World War II, Chinese wave attacks in Korea and shit like that, it can go fucking flash.
I'll tell you now, mate, if we ever go to war against a peer or an even bigger peer, and we know that the country that we're talking about, it's going to be a different story, and we are going to lose a lot of females because they're all on the warships now. We're going to lose warships and we're going to lose females if we go to war. And let's hope we never, ever do, mate. But, just back onto that, mate, I watch a lot of the Ukraine footage and that. You don't see too many of the females in the trenches there. They may be there in a support role or something as well, but it seems to be all the males doing the fighting over in Ukraine and that. Even over in Gaza, I don't see too many females clearing the buildings through Gaza and that. I think they're there in a support role as well. Israel is one of the countries that do allow females in infantry, but you don't see them in Gaza.
Look, it's a lot of it is a myth, the Israel thing. Okay, I've been over there, served over there. Basically, what it is there's a massive difference between the regular army of Israel and the national service obligation of soldiers in Israel. So you will see them doing roles that looks and gives a perception of infantry, but the actual boys on the ground are a completely different group altogether. And when I saw them, I was like, oh, Jesus, they look different. They're a very, very calm people because they're always tested. So they're very, I don't know, they keep their powder dry. They don't look like they're something, but they look completely calm in the face of danger. And I think the Israeli people were the most relaxed people that I reckon I've ever been around, considering they're in contested territory.
Mm. Yeah, it's
it did look sexy seeing a girl with an M16 on her back at the McDonald's line, but
yeah, I don't know. I don't know, mate. I was in the army when in Signals Corps in 1991. Females were never in field force units, and they brought the females in to field force units in Signals Corps and other corps and that before they went into arms corps. And I must admit, mate, they fit in well. There's a lot of jobs in Signals Corps that the girls were very, very good at, doing Morse code and all that type. They did Morse code back in those days and all that. There are a lot of jobs in the military that the girls can excel at. And I'll tell you now,
absolutely,
I knew a lot of young infantry lads that became correctional officers at the Townsville prison, mate, that were in the battalions in Townsville, got out of the army, become prison screws. I said, how are the girls going in the battalions? And they just said, mate, they're not handling it. A lot of them have got injuries. A lot of them are regretting that they ever went to infantry. A lot of them just can't do the job. And I just think the girls have been lied to, mate. And I just think infantry is one of those corps that should not have females. In the medical centres and the orderly rooms and the Q stores and that, posted to a battalion, absolutely. But out in a rifle platoon, no, mate, that's a man's job. You go up here, an hour up the road, we got the Avenue of Honour, the 41 Afghanistan soldiers that were killed in Afghanistan, mate. 41, How many females on there? 0.
Yep.
They're all men, mate. They're all men. Infantry, SAS, Special Forces, combat engineers. I can't speak for combat engineers. That's another one I think should be a man's domain, but actually being a combat engineer. But females can do the support roles, mate. And that's just as important as actually going out. Like, without those people supporting them, the infantry guy will not survive, mate. It takes 9 or 10 people to keep one infantry guy on the front line when you think about medics and drivers and QEs and signals people and all that type of stuff, mate. You've got to have your support people there. Females are good at it.
I'll let Trev Rowe, I'll get to your question in a sec, mate, because I can't. Can you just word that better there, Trev? Why would you, Kaz, when the regiment guys that came back got hung out and still by defence and media, some public? I don't know what you're trying to say there, dude. Do the media hang our boys out to dry? Absolutely. Am I against it? Absolutely. You know, the reason we have these, the reason why we have these streams is to actually not be there for Army's needs, but to be there for your needs, for the applicant, and take into account there is people that absolutely have been left out to dry. And I'm able to and want to help anyone with anything. And the best thing we can do is have a voice. And that's why I love things like Matty Morris with Zero Limits, like we've got down here. Where are we? JHC, I think. Sorry. There we are. Well, Matty Morris, I listened to Zero Limits today, and Matty made a very valid point. But us dropping the standards early means over time exponentially gets lower. Yep, it just drip feeds. And that's what our politicians do to us. They bring in laws, they bring in restrictions, they make government bigger, just one step at a time. And all of a sudden you realise, hey, I can't breathe anymore. How did this happen? How did parking tickets get up to $380 in Western Sydney? $20 at a time. Yep. I love the Air Force. I love that. Okay, I don't love the Air Force, but I do love the Army. That was my lane. The Army hate what the Army hate what Kaz doing, talking about what it needs to be said. Look, I know the officers are in a really, really hard position, And what scares me, Buck, is when there's no moral courage happening by serving officers, but their job is supposed to be about moral courage. Leadership is about making hard decisions that others can't make. So when people aren't questioning what's going on, either one or two things are happening. Either one, this is being implemented by our leadership, or the other one is that our actual puppet politicians are in our military without serving, which means one day when the politicians fail and the military has to step up, they've actually created a position where we're unable to do our jobs because they've throttled us for so long that they've basically watered down our ability to conduct our job or be mentally ready for the day that our soldiers come back and we actually lose 200 in one day. Because I think that would be a situation, and that happens in Ukraine nearly every day. But how the hell would that go down in Australian public if that happened over here? We wouldn't recover from it.
Yeah, why isn't the chief of the army, the chief of the navy, chest poking the politicians, going and the state of our navy at the moment, Kaz, is a disgrace. It is a disgrace, and the army's not far behind it, mate. You never hear the chief of navy and chief of army saying, my army is not ready to go. I hope they're saying that in the background, mate, and saying, our army's not ready to go. Our battalions are under strength. We don't have this, and this. Chief of navy should be saying, we've got one out of 6 submarines in the water at the moment. Our Anzac frigates are falling apart. They're rust buckets. The replacements are 10 years away. How have you let it get to this? They need to be speaking up, mate. They need to be speaking up.
Navy veteran agrees with you. And the thing is, we're about to be sharing a contested space in a contested world, which is supposed to be pushing out a strategic deterrent north of Australians' waters. And we could ultimately end up embarrassing ourselves when we expose what our actual, to our coalition partners. And we've gone from one of the proudest, hardest hitting militaries in the world for our size, and it's probably going to be too hard to replace it soon. And I can see it is only a matter of time before national service, whether people like it or not, it's coming. It's coming because they're not getting the recruits. They're not getting them. We don't even have the numbers in the ADF now, only 66. And out of those people, how many are officers? We've got such a skew with command with the amount of officers we've got. I believe lieutenants should do 10 years. You learn to be a commanding officer while being a lieutenant. Go in there for 10 years. But give them incremental rewards as they go so they're part of the conversation for that 10 years. And then ultimately one day they're going to be excellent at what they do. Captain, leave that just a couple of years, logistics. But the major, lieutenant, major, and lieutenant colonel are 3 really big ranks.
Yeah.
Really big ranks. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right, mate. Too many senior officers. A lot of them are just trying to feather their own nest, mate. I don't think they're bringing much to the table either, It's shocking. And what was his name before? Trev, someone was it? Going on about the way our special forces boys were treated when they came back. Did you see the thing about Heston Russell, mate? And then the ABC was doctoring footage to make it look like he was the one shooting 7 shots at the people down out of the chopper, and he wasn't. He was sitting back there. It wasn't even him on the rifle, mate. And it's just disgraceful, mate. But back onto standards with females, males, even through the police academy, Kaz, and corrections and that, females had standards, males had standards. And one thing always going to, and age standards as well. And people will go, should the RSM or the RQMS of a battalion who are getting towards the end of their career, should they be able to still do the 2.4 kilometre time of an under 25? So there's that argument too. I don't know too many RQs and RSMs that could have gone and run an 11:18 or whatever it was for the 2.4. So I know as I got older, mate, I slowed down. It's only natural. But I think as you go through the ranks, mate, they need you for this, not your physical type stuff.
Well, also more to that is that because they don't actually have that pension waiting for you as a golden light at the end of the tunnel, if someone's done 20 years, that's all they know. So they're going to want to hang on to that. It's not just that that's all they know, because they're going to be qualified a lot of things. They're going to be extremely proficient in a lot of things, but that's where their best friends are. That's like you've just divorced your family in one hit and just left everyone you love and that you work with in one go. You don't even realize you're in the army. After 10 years, you just turn up to work and it's a conversation, coffee, do your job, get home. And someone that is less fit than other people still manages to perform at an excellent level, because there's a difference between being fit and being tough. Someone being fit can make it past the first day of SAS selection, but then they're going to fall on their ass a day or so later because they haven't got the will and the mind to do so. The tough guy might be slower, but he'll be there right through to the end and they can't break him.
Yeah.
I've been surrounded by tough guys with guts my whole career. Yeah.
I'll tell you one guy, you might have worked under him too, Kaz. When I was instructor at JLTC, Junior Leader Training Centre, Townsville, the senior instructor there was WO1 Gary Hansen, Vietnam veteran and that. And I'll tell you what, mate, he ran a tough ship. And the females that came through there on their subject one for corporal, it didn't matter if they were a QE, a medic, a driver, or whether the boys were from infantry and that, everyone came to that standard. And I'll tell you what, he did not pass anyone who did not deserve to be passed. And that's the way it should be. He ran a tough ship, and the girls that got through that course deserve to get through, because that means they worked bloody hard. And especially on the field phase. The field phase was quite difficult there. Some of the girls, mate, were very good. One of my young QEs, we walked the Kokoda Trail in 95, Kaz, with our packs and webbing and all that type of stuff.
Yep.
One of my young diggers, Jodie, her name was, I won't mention her last name. She did Kokoda, carrying her own pack and all that type. Just a real tough young girl. She started to struggle towards the end, and that, mate, it started, like she just wasn't as big and as powerful as the guys. But she got through, mate. And I've met some really gutsy young females over the years in the army and in the police and corrections. Some of the things that those girls in the coppers and corrections, they put their bodies on the line and their safety on the line. And I never saw any of them take a backward step, mate. But credit to them, they know their limits, especially in the police and that. And when the fists were flying, they used to let the boys go in and sort it out. But, yeah.
Mate, if a lass can be professional and keep her legs shut, she'll be absolutely loved by her team. Absolutely loved, and protected, not because she needs protecting, but because they care for her. Some of the girls make a big mistake by opening their legs to get that ally, and it comes back to bite them, and it's unfortunate. I'm an ex-clearance diver, did selection 2x tag West rotations, and personally know some of the CNCOs still wondering if criminal charges are coming. Trev, I fucking hope not. Mate, I really hope not. I don't name names. I never have. And I didn't understand how this situation played out the way it did in the public domain, and it makes me sick. I'm totally with you on this one. And I know some people and a couple of guys have lost their lives. It's heartbreaking, mate. It really is. And to think that there was a guy in the US, he was on he was on a podcast, and he ended up walking in and taking the life of a Taliban leader with his bare hands, and took him out, while he was a prisoner in American custody. He said they were going to release him the next day, and he said, nah, you go and have a smoke, go and do something, fuck off. And he saw this guy out and killed him with his bare hands. And anyway, he went to Leavenworth, the prison, the military prison, and they ended up saying to him, and he said back to them, well, when that war ended, they released all the Taliban prisoners, so why am I still in prison? And anyway, he ended up getting let out, and now he's been on a lot of podcasts and shit. But he was he was a rough and ready lad. There's
that, and I'll mention his name because it's been in the media and that. The guy who got charged for murder, the SAS guys, Oliver Schultz, his trial must be coming up soon, Kaz, because he did get charged with murder, mate.
Which one's that?
Oliver Schultz, his name was.
Okay.
And he got charged with murder. As for some of the other boys, I don't think any charges have been brought forward. And as you said, hopefully they won't. But yeah, I remember the RFC.
Great point there for a second, mate. Trev's just brought up, and this is one of the things why we're meant to have tribunals and court martials where everything is kept in-house if it needs to occur, because ultimately you can destroy or be a strategic weapon against your own country's organisation, if you actually put everything out to dry. Now, those media should have been gagged straight up, and this should have been the only people that are allowed to hear what's going on here is a military tribunal, which have got top secret clearance. I think it was meant to get out. I think it was meant to get out, Trev, sadly.
Mate, the way ABC and Channel 9 treated our Special Forces guys was a disgrace. Speaking of Trev, Kaz, he looks like he could do a few push-ups. Did you see his profile pic there? He's a fit lad.
Trev, be careful for Bucko. He spent a lot of time in the prisons. He likes to ogle the photos.
13 years in jail, Trev. Look out. Trev looks pretty fit, Kaz. He looks like you in your younger days there, mate.
Mate, I've got my father's looks and he's better looking than me. So what does that say about me? But Trev, thanks you for your service, mate. And I know that clearance divers is one of the hardest roles there is within Army, Air Force, Navy. As a matter of fact, do Air Force have any equivalent? We've got SAS, we've got commandos, we've got clearance divers. What does Air Force have? Simon?
Okay. Speaking of clearance divers, they had a few of them. We had a few ex-clearance divers at the regiment when I was over there, mate. They had a very, very good strike rate of getting through the SAS selection course. I remember a couple of them. I was mates with one of them. I won't mention his name in case he's still in the Army. I doubt it for years. But, mate, those boys come over from the Navy, didn't really know much about the Army, but got through selection, mate, and turned into really good troopers.
Well, we've had guys that went from Special Forces that went over and actually had a crack at clearance divers and actually had a real hard time. Yeah. Nature asks all.
Clearance diver. I'm scared of sharks.
Nature, mate. And quads. The quads, the biggest muscles in your body. You get them burnt out, mate. That brings on the vomit. Let's get out of here. You guys have been very, very good tonight. Very interactive. Very respectful. And let me just say, as a conclusion to tonight, this is a topic that needs to be addressed. We can't just have easy topics to cover. So hopefully this doesn't offend any of our fantastic serving female members, because they are doing a great job. And there is no monopoly on family pride, national pride, service to the nation. We've got the servant to the nation here. So the ladies out there, keep up the good work.
Another hat bag for war.
Yeah, but the organisation can lie to us when they have a need or a priority role that needs to be filled. And when the girls that get sent to actual Singleton don't look like specimens, that look like that 1 in a million girl, that CrossFit lass who's got a fantastic military background, has been brought up with 6 brothers, when they're not like that, it's the opposite. You're going, come on, let's not be unfair to this gal. She's a volunteer. She deserves the respect, of being given all the facts and talking to someone from infantry. That way that she can at least say, buyer beware, regardless of what you say, I'm going to prove that I can do this. But I'm telling you now, there's a big failure rate for men too. And when they go for SAS and go for commandos, these are guys that have been in operations. These are guys that hold rank. These are guys that are infantry through and through, have support company courses, and almost all of them fail when they try to go to the next level. So today we're talking about females, but anytime you want, we can talk about male failure too.
Yeah, tell you what, as I said, mate, there's a lot of really, really good jobs in the military for the females. Infantry is not one of them, and probably artillery's the other one, mate. I'm dead set against it. And people will say we're male chauvinists and that for saying that. We're just trying to protect the girls, mate. And they were really good. As I said, I've been in 3 jobs now where I've worked with females, and infantry ain't in a place for a young girl, mate.
Well, I've never had sex with a man because of my respect for women. All right, dude.
You worry me sometimes, Kaz. You really do. See you, everyone.
Okay, guys. Take it
Thanks for
easy
tuning in.
for that video. What I'll do is tomorrow I'll replace that war video that was on in overlaid over the top of it. We've just had a copyright strike, and I'll put it out there so people can look at it, put their comments in there,
Thanks,
and be respectful to the ladies and that if they come in.
Absolutely, mate.
All right, team. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having
Thank
me
you
on,
very
mate.
much, Bucko, for coming in. That's all good, mate.
Good
And
on
thanks
you,
for
mate.
Trev. Thanks for your service. And, mate, I hope you know that we're here for all of you guys. All right, mate?
Yeah.
All the best to your family as we lead up to Christmas, mate.
Good chat tonight, Kaz. Well done, mate.